I want to take a moment to sit down with you and share something that might be a little bit painful to hear. It is a truth that is often hard to see when you are right in the middle of it. So many of us only start to understand what went wrong after the person we love is already gone and the relationship has completely fallen apart. When a woman is starting to prepare her heart to leave, she usually does not come out and say it in plain words right away. It is not like she just wakes up on a random Tuesday morning, watches the sun come up, and decides to be a totally different person in the blink of an eye. Instead, the change happens very, very quietly, like the tide slowly going out at night. It starts with tiny shifts in how she feels deep down inside. You might notice new ways she acts or hear certain things she says that sound perfectly fine when you first hear them. But as the days turn into weeks, these small changes begin to shift the entire feeling of the home you have built together. If you do not understand the deeper meaning behind these simple words, you might find yourself spending many months or even years trying to fix a bond that actually ended a long time ago. The truth is, the heart often leaves long before the body ever walks out the front door, and it can happen while you are still sitting right next to her on the couch. Hello there, and I want to say a very big thank you for being here with us today. We are a group of caring experts, and our main goal is to help you make sense of the complicated way people think. We want to help you understand how relationships work, why we feel so drawn to one another, and how to spot the quiet patterns that most people miss until it is a little bit too late to change things. If you are the kind of person who likes having these deep, heart to heart talks about life and love, we are so very glad you found us. Everything we share is created with a lot of love to help you understand the way feelings work on a much deeper level. We want to give you the tools to have a better, happier, and more peaceful life. So let's talk about this together because what I'm going to explain today is something that a lot of people miss, even when it is happening right in front of their eyes every single day. One thing that many people get wrong when they think about a partner being unfaithful or moving on is that they think it happens all at once. But the truth is that it usually starts deep in the heart before it ever becomes a physical thing you can see. Long before someone else ever enters the picture, a quiet distance starts to grow inside the walls of the home. A woman starts to unplug her heart first. Think of it like a lamp that is slowly being pulled out of the wall. The light stays on for a little while, but the power is already gone. This unplugging shows up in the way she talks to you, the way she acts when you are together, and the kind of energy she brings into the room. To be honest, the words we use every day say a lot more than we think they do. The things a person says over and over again can reveal what is really going on in the dark corners of their mind. That is why today I want to walk you through 5 very common things people say when they are starting to check out of a relationship or when they're getting their minds ready to find a new spark of feeling somewhere else. Now, before we go any further into these signs, I want to be very, very clear about something so no one gets the wrong idea or feels too much worry. Just because a woman says these things does not mean she is definitely being unfaithful or doing something wrong. Not every change in feelings means there is a big secret. Sometimes people are just really, really tired. Sometimes they are feeling confused about life, or they have way too much on their plate at work or with their family. Life can be very heavy and hard to carry. But when we look at how people act, we are not looking at just one mistake. We are looking for patterns, things that happen over and over again, like a song on repeat. When these phrases start to show up, along with a lot of new secrets, a lack of closeness, getting angry when you ask simple questions, and a cold feeling in the house, they often point to a much bigger wall being built between two people. Before we keep going, please take a moment to tell us in the comments where you are from. We truly love seeing how far these heart to heart talks go across the world, and it reminds us that we are all in this together. The The first thing people say when they are pulling away sounds very normal and very fair, and that is exactly why so many men ignore the warning signs for a long time. They hear the words, I've just been stressed lately, and they think to themselves that it makes perfect sense. And let's be honest with each other, stress is a very real and very heavy thing. Life can get very big and feel like a weight on your shoulders. Having too much pressure at your job, feeling like you have no energy left at the end of the day, having troubles with your family, feeling sad or worried about the future, or not having enough money to pay the bills can all hurt a relationship for a little while. That is normal, but the way our minds work is different when stress is being used as a shield to push away the person you love, while everything else in her life still seems to have plenty of energy. This is where things get very confusing and lonely for a lot of men. The woman who used to want to be close to you and snuggle up on the sofa suddenly feels like she is miles and miles away, even when she is sitting right next to you. Your talks become very short, like she is just trying to get through the conversation. You stop holding hands when you walk together. She doesn't look you in the eyes with that warm look she used to have. Even the small things that show love, like a quick hug in the kitchen or a gentle touch on the arm while you're watching a movie, start to fade away until they are gone. And every single time you ask what is wrong or why things feel so different and cold, the answer is always the same. I'm just stressed. The scary part is that this answer sounds like something a grown up would say. It sounds believable and honest. So instead of looking at the pattern of her behavior, many men start to feel bad about themselves. They think they are being mean or not helpful enough. They start to wonder if they are the problem for even noticing that the love feels different. But here is a very important truth about how our hearts work when we are in love. When a woman feels deeply connected to her man and she feels safe with him, stress usually makes her want to run to him, not run away from him. She wants to be in his arms where the world feels quiet. She might be physically tired. Her brain might feel like a big, jumbled mess, and she might feel totally drained of energy. But deep down, she still wants to feel loved and protected by the person she truly cares for. That is why, when someone pulls their heart away and uses stress as an excuse to be cold, it matters a large amount. When stress becomes the only reason why someone shuts down for months and months, there is usually something else hidden under the surface that they aren't telling you. Another thing that many men miss is how her behavior changes in different places and with different people. With She might tell you she has no energy at all when she is around you, but then you notice she suddenly has all the energy in the world for her new hobbies or her new group of friends or spending extra time making sure her hair and clothes look perfect before she goes out. She might spend more and more time looking down at her phone, laughing at things you can't see, or acting excited about things that happen outside of the home. This is what we call moving your feelings. It happens when the energy she used to put into the relationship starts going somewhere else instead. It might be going toward another person she met, or a dream of a different life she has in her head, or just toward a desire to be alone and independent again. Again, this doesn't always mean she is cheating on you, but in a healthy and happy relationship, things don't usually turn cold in only one direction. That is the big difference you need to see. One of the biggest mistakes men make here is getting very scared and starting to beg for attention. When you beg someone who is already pulling away, it makes the balance of the relationship feel even more broken. It is much better to stay calm, take a deep breath, and watch the patterns of what she does instead of panicking. You need to look at her actions because actions tell the truth that words sometimes try to hide. The second thing someone might say to you sounds like they are being very mature, healthy, and wise. They look at you and say, I just need to focus on myself right now. Now, let's be clear. There is nothing wrong with wanting to grow as a person. Healthy people should always try to be better in their hearts, their minds, and their bodies. We should all want to learn new things and be the best version of ourselves. The problem starts when the phrase working on myself is actually just a quiet way of saying, I am leaving you behind. This is where the way someone thinks about the relationship starts to change. A woman who still loves you and truly wants to be with you will usually want you to be a part of her growth. She will want to share her new goals with you. She might want to learn how to talk better or start better habits, but she still wants to be a team while she does it. She wants you by her side as she climbs that mountain. But when the heart starts to drift away and look for an exit, the words start to sound different. Suddenly, everything is about needing space away from you. She stops telling you about her day or what she is thinking about when she's quiet. She starts to keep her thoughts in a private box that you aren't allowed to see inside of anymore. The talks you do have feel cold and stiff, like talking to a stranger at a store. You start to hear things like, I need to find out who I really am, or I need space to think about my life, or I just want to worry about me for a while. And if you try to say that you are worried or that you feel confused by the distance, she might flip it around and make you feel like the bad guy for not supporting her journey. That is a way people use your own good feelings against you. Instead of seeing the distance she is creating, you start to feel guilty and ashamed just for wanting to be close to your partner. You start to think that maybe you are holding her back when really she is just letting go of the rope. In a healthy way of living and loving, growing together usually leads to more honesty and more sharing, not more secrets and more walls. This is what so many people miss. It is also very important to know that when someone is getting ready to leave a relationship, they often start to separate themselves in their minds first. They start to think of themselves as a single person, imagining what their life will look like without you long before the breakup actually happens. That is why the feeling in the room changes so much before the relationship officially ends. Many men spend many months trying to win back the heart of someone who has already left in their mind. They aren't doing this because they are weak or silly, but because the changes happen so slowly that it's very hard to see the truth until the very end. You have to be brave enough to watch the patterns, not just the pretty words she uses to explain them away. This third lie is very painful, and it usually comes out at the very moment you start to notice that things are different and you ask a normal, honest question about it. When you ask why she's being so cold lately, or why she's suddenly hiding her phone screen when you walk in, or why she's staying out much later than she used to, she doesn't answer your question. Instead, she turns it back on you and says, you're being too controlling. This is a very hard thing to deal with because it makes you start to doubt your own mind. The talk stops being about what she is doing and starts being an attack on who you are as a person. It is a way of changing the subject so she doesn't have to tell the truth. You might ask a simple question because you feel lonely or you feel like the person you love is slipping away. And instead of her being kind and helping you feel better, she flips the script. She says things like, you don't trust me at all, or you are just so insecure, or you're making me feel like I can't even breathe in this house. Now, we have to be honest here. Some people really are too controlling and act like bullies, and that is never a good thing. But there is a huge, giant difference between being a bully and just being a partner who is worried because things feel wrong. In a good relationship, people ask questions. In a good relationship, people talk about changes when they happen. They help each other feel safe and loved when things feel a bit off or strange. That is just what people who love each other do. They look out for each other's peace of mind. When someone gets very angry, shouts, or gets defensive over a basic, calm question, it is usually a sign that the question is getting way too close to the truth. They don't want you to see what is really happening behind the scenes, so they try to make you feel bad for even asking. This is a way of messing with your head. Once you start feeling guilty for asking, you usually stop asking. You don't want to look like a mean or toxic person, so you start to ignore your own gut feelings and your own eyes just to keep the peace and keep her from getting mad. This is very bad for your mental health. When someone teaches you not to trust what you see with your own two eyes, you start to lose your confidence in everything. People who have nothing to hide are usually very happy to be open and clear with the person they love. They don't attack you for being worried, they try to hold your hand and help you feel better. Always remember, patterns show the truth much better than excuses ever will. The fourth lie is one of the trickiest and most confusing because it sounds so sweet and so kind on the outside. I just don't want to hurt you. When a man hears this, he often thinks his partner is being very thoughtful, caring, and protective of his feelings. But in reality, this phrase often comes out when someone is already halfway out the door and looking for the exit. They are trying to get you ready for the pain they know they are going to cause you very soon. They are trying to make themselves feel like a good person before they do something that isn't good. The feeling behind these words is very strange. It sounds soft and gentle, but it also feels very far away and cold. A lot of men ignore the warning signs here because they like the nice tone of her voice and they want to believe she still cares. But think about it for a second. People who are all in on a relationship and want to stay together focus on fixing things as a team. They don't talk about not wanting to hurt you unless they are already planning to do something that they know will break your heart. This phrase often makes you feel very anxious and nervous, even if you can't quite say why. Your heart knows something is changing in a big way, but the words she is using are too nice to argue with. It feels like you're being pushed away with a velvet glove. This is a time when many men try even harder than before to save the relationship. They become the best partner they can possibly be, doing more chores, buying gifts, and hoping that more love will fix the coldness they feel. But you cannot fix a heart that has already decided it wants to leave by being more desperate or by trying harder. In fact, being desperate usually makes things feel even worse and pushes the person further away. Another thing to notice is that guilt often shows up before you see any proof of someone doing something wrong. When someone knows they are pulling away or talking to someone else in a way they shouldn't, they start to feel bad inside, and that guilt leaks out into their words. They might become extra emotional for no reason, or say sorry over and over, or talk a lot about how good things were in the past. They are trying to make themselves feel better before the truth finally comes out. This is why paying attention to how you feel matters so much. Many people wait for a smoking gun or a big piece of proof while ignoring the fact that the house has been cold and the love has been gone for a very long time. The fifth thing you might hear is very confusing because it doesn't sound bad or mean at all. I've just been thinking a lot lately. We all think. Everyone goes through times in life where they reflect on things, look back at their choices, or feel a bit confused about the future. But this phrase becomes a big red flag when it shows up at the same time as new secrets and her acting like a different person. This is when a man feels like something is deeply wrong, but he can't put his finger on exactly what it is. She is there in the room with you, but her mind is somewhere else entirely. Her eyes look past you, not at you. She feels distracted. And even when you are sitting right next to each other, you feel like you are totally alone in the world. What many people don't realize is that leaving a relationship is a process that happens in the mind long before the person actually picks up their bags and walks away. They start to imagine a completely different life. They think about what it would be like to be with someone else, or what it would feel like to just be by themselves again. This is why they aren't there anymore when you try to talk to them. Their body is sitting in the chair, but their heart is drifting far away across the ocean. This is a huge sign that the energy and the love they used to give to you is being sent somewhere else, even if it's just into their own daydreams for now. Emotional unfaithfulness often starts in the imagination before it ever turns into a real life secret. It starts with a fantasy or a secret comparison where she thinks about how someone else might treat her, or just a hidden curiosity about a life without you. These small things slowly eat away at the loyalty and the bond someone has inside of them. You don't just wake up one day and stop caring about the person you promised to love. It happens slowly, one small thought at a time, like water dripping on a stone. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is ignoring this reality just because you don't have proof that she is talking to someone else on her phone. But the way a relationship feels is a type of proof, too. A healthy relationship should feel like a connection and a bridge, even when things are hard. But when someone checks out in their mind, the relationship starts to feel lonely and empty before it ever officially ends. Now, we really need to talk about what this situation does to you, the person who is staying and trying. The biggest danger isn't just the words being said to you, it's what happens to your own mind and your own spirit when you hear these excuses over and over again while you're trying your best to save the relationship. Slowly, your own reality starts to shift and change. At first, you can see the distance very clearly. You feel the cold air in the room. Your gut tells you something is wrong, but after weeks or months of hearing excuses, being told you are wrong for feeling that way, and getting mixed signals where she is nice 1 minute and cold the next, you start to think you are the crazy one. You start to think that maybe you really are too sensitive or too worried. This is where it gets very, very painful for your heart. You stop trusting yourself and your own feelings. You stop asking questions because you are tired of starting a fight or being called controlling. You try to hide your own feelings and your own sadness because you don't want to be labeled as toxic or insecure. Little by little, your confidence and your sense of who you are starts to disappear. This is why many men get very anxious and can't sleep. Their body is always on high alert, like a soldier, because nothing feels safe or steady anymore. You never know which version of her you're going to get. One day she is sweet and kind, and the next day she is cold as ice. Your brain becomes obsessed with trying to fix the puzzle and figure out what you did wrong. This is exhausting work for your soul. You might find yourself waiting for just a tiny bit of kindness or a small smile, like a hungry bird waiting for breadcrumbs, because you are so scared of losing her completely that you will take anything she gives you. But I want you to listen to me. A good relationship should not feel like you are just trying to survive every single day. Real love should be a safe place for you to land when you are tired, not a place that makes you feel constantly confused and small. This is a very hard lesson that a lot of people have to learn the hard way through a lot of tears. Love cannot live in a place where people are not being honest with each other. Once secrets and making the other person feel guilty become the normal way of doing things, the relationship is no longer a safe home for your heart. That is why being aware of what is happening is so important. It isn't about being mean or being suspicious or being a detective. It is about being honest enough to see the truth of your own life. Sometimes our attachment to someone can make us blind. Because we love someone so much, our brain tries to protect the bond at all costs, even when that bond is hurting us every day. Many people wait far too long for perfect proof while they are already suffering and losing themselves.